Hey guys, MTU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series. This is number 18, Akiko, from the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins movie. So it's about time some of these figures are starting to release. This one is packed in Wave 6 along with Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Baroness. They all kind of getting packed in there again. So it's all kind of crazy. But here we have number 18. We have the different insignias for Akiko. Here we have this awesome looking artwork that looks nothing like her from the movie because this is based off of actual artwork and stuff. So it doesn't really resemble her too much, but the artwork does look pretty awesome, I must admit. Here on the back of the package, we basically have that same poster. All the movie figures have this exact same backing on there. So without further ado, let's get Akiko out of the package. Okay, and here is the Akiko figure out of the package, and she is okay. I was hoping for a little bit more with the figure. It's not terrible. It's also not great, and there's a couple of things. The feet are kind of really small and kind of have these wedge shoes, so it's going to be a little tough getting her to stand. The design of her costume, so the bagginess up at the top of her legs then goes into kind of tight fitting for the lower legs at the knee and below, make for weird look on action figures, which is kind of tough. This is a little bit different from the norm on action figure articulation for the female G.I. Joes. Well, I guess the Baroness actually had this as well. There's no ab crunch on her, so it's a double ball joint. So the torso, upper body is on a ball joint, and then the waist itself is on a ball joint also. So no ab crunch, which I think is what they had. I don't have Lady J in front of me. Oh, I have Scarlet. Scarlet, it is double ball joint there as well. So maybe I'm just misremembering based off of the male figures how that looks. So a couple of weird things here. The resemblance to the actress, I think, is pretty good. Again, not great, but not terrible by any means. I would consider it good. Yeah, and it's just not a whole lot really special to the figure. There's a couple of spots where it's like, oh, cool, the little painted detail that they added on, like the zippers on the arms and then the torso. But then on the back, you know, we get a little bit of sloppiness on the paint, and this is just going to be a minor QC issue that you'll see on some of the figures. So it's just kind of one of those weird things. But, you know, definitely a nice addition to the line, but one that I feel, you know, wasn't all that necessary since she's a new character, but I guess it makes sense from a movie standpoint. But let's get in close, take a look at her accessories, and take a look at the figure. Okay, so in terms of the accessories, she has two of these swords here, which look nice. We get a nice silver paint for the blade there, black for the handle hilt. A little bit of that blade sticks out there on that side. And then we have a second one, and I believe these are the exact same. Yeah, they look the exact same. And the reason for that is because she has this third one where they would actually be connected. Now, I don't really remember from the movie. I saw the movie twice in theaters, but I haven't seen it since. I think I do own it on digital, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. So I don't remember her connecting or disconnecting the two, but that's kind of what this is here. So you can see that all in one piece there. So now let's take a closer look at Akiko. Okay, so here's an up-close look, and again, I think the likeness to the actress is actually pretty good, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's great. But I do like the way it looks. It just looks a little bit shiny, which kind of sucks. And I think the Baroness head sculpt actually kind of had that same issue where it looked a little bit too shiny. As you can see, this one, she just had a long-ass neck. This one, we don't really get that so much there. The neck is probably really long in there, but it's hidden well, so it doesn't really become an issue for the figure itself. But as you can see there, I had mentioned earlier kind of the sloppy paint, so it's just there on the back. But some of the cool things, you get this nice silver paint right there for this for the zipper on the sleeves. That's a nice little touch that, you know, Hasbro tends to make shortcuts in and not paint. This cream white color over the black, though, kind of gets a little bit sloppy in some areas where you see the black bleed through. It probably looks a little bit more noticeable actually having it in hand as compared to, you know, looking at the screen in front of you. But it is noticeable in some areas. It's not terrible, but it's noticeable. We got some silver there for some zippers in the front. That is pretty good, but not a whole lot going on to the design. But the way the pants are, and yes, you know, they're accurate to the movie and stuff, but it just ends up being really weird when you have these large upper legs, and immediately goes down into the smaller legs. So when you know, do some things with the legs and you bend the legs, it just looks a little bit funny, and it's kind of weird, you know, from a thicker plastic to a thinner plastic. It just kind of works out a little bit weird. On mine, the left knee is a little funky. I don't really like the way it looks. It doesn't really connect well. I don't know if it's maybe a wrong knee piece or what the case may be, but it does sit kind of weird in there. And then her funky ass shoes, it's like a wedge with the heel. It just looks kind of funky there. So I haven't had a terrible time getting her to stand or anything, but I know depending on what kind of pose you might want to leave her in, that's definitely going to be an issue. But, you know, overall, looks pretty good. Now let's check out her articulation. Okay, so Akiko, her articulation, she can look down that much. She can look all the way up. The neck can swivel in there, and then the head over the neck can also swivel, and you get some neck pivot going on in there. Shoulder, she can get her arm to go up all the way, which is good. You get a full rotation in there, and there is some butterfly joint, so you can get the arm to go back a little bit. You can get it to come forward a little bit. It's not a whole lot of range of motion, but it's nice that it is included. Unfortunately, she only has a single jointed elbow, and she gets a swivel at that elbow. So the bend is only going to be 90 degrees, and that is it. So that is unfortunate. Wrist swivel, and then we do have a vertical hinge on her right hand there, and then we have the vertical hinge on her left hand as well. So at least we get the correct wrist articulation for wielding swords. So now the upper diaphragm joint, she could pivot a little bit to her left. As you could tell, it's not a whole lot. To her right, you kind of have to work it a little bit. You can get a little bit, but not a whole lot. Going back a little bit, coming forward, not really a whole lot, but getting the most out of it. You can get her to bend forward that much, that far. Going back, you can do that much there. You get a swivel at that upper diaphragm joint. The waist in there, you could also get a swivel, and it's hard because it's hidden by this rubber overlay piece as part of her, is that a gi that she's wearing? But part of her costume, so it's kind of hidden in there, but you can get it to work. You can get it to pivot a little bit more, you know, with the double ball joint in there. The legs do have the drop down feature, as you can see there, so if you drop it down and kick forward, you can kick pretty high up. You can do all kinds of crazy things with these legs, getting them to kick. You get to the full on splits like so. So that is good. You have an upper thigh cut in there. You get a double jointed knee. It actually works out really well. It's just I hate the thicker plastic into the smaller plastic. So like right there from the knee standpoint, visually it looks weird, and it gets a little bit flimsy, so it's just kind of funky, so be aware of that. You actually do get a calf swivel right at the top of her boot in there, and then foot hinges down like so. You get a little bit of hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet, right kind of towards the toes. So good articulation, typical for what we see with the G.I. Joe Classified series. I have to look back at Jay to see if she has an actual ab crunch or if it's a double like waist ball and diaphragm joint like Baroness and Akiko, and the upcoming movie Scarlet figure, which will be the next video that you guys will be watching. And I think I'm going to drop a lot of these videos as I'm filming them back to back to back late Sunday night. So there is her articulation. Pretty good. Not the greatest, but you know, definitely not bad. Okay, and here's Akiko along with the other G.I. Joe Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins movie. We got Snake Eyes, Akiko, Storm Shadow, and Baroness. Again, Scarlet is going to be next up to complete the 5 figures that were released for the movie. Why we didn't get a hard master or blind master is beyond me. Come on, Hasbro. I think you guys could still do them. I think people will want them, especially Hard Master. I think that's a figure that a lot of people will want from the movie. But it's rounding out to be pretty good. You know, regardless of what you thought of the movie, the figures, you know, if you think about them separately, the figures are pretty good. They each have their own, you know, problems, but the Snake Eyes figure is really damn awesome. Storm Shadow is pretty good. Color is a little funky. Baroness just has a super long neck, which sucks. But other than that, you know, they have their minor little flaws, but they're all still really good action figures. Okay, so there's my review of the Akiko figure. Not the greatest, but I think if you're collecting the other movie figures, you know, she's a must-have. Plus, she's number 18 in the Classified Series line. If you're going to be a completist, or if the numbers are going to bother you, it's definitely one that you're going to want to pick up. I don't think people will be super disappointed with it. She's by no means a fantastic or perfect figure, but I think Hasbro executed it well enough from a movie standpoint. The actress likeness is there. So it is a good release, not a great release. You know, it's just one of those things. But I think it's a decent figure enough for you guys to pick up. But you guys let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on it. What did you think of the character? I think she was okay. I think what we needed from her in the movie was just is somebody that's kind of on the outside of the Arashikage to kind of side with Snake Eyes a little bit. Again, you know, regardless of what you thought from the movie, was it perfect? Was it a good G.I. Joe movie? Maybe not. Was I entertained? Yeah, I sure was. I really enjoyed it. That's why I saw it twice at the theaters, 2 days in a row with my son. We both really enjoyed the movie. But I get it, right? It changes everything that you know. But it's still an entertaining movie. But enough of that. You guys let me know your thoughts on this figure. Let me know in the comments below. If you guys liked the video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.